Our keynote speaker, Dr. June R. Aprille, has a Bachelor of Science degree from Washington State and a Master's of Science and a PhD from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. She received that institution's Distinguished Alumna Award in 2004. She is a cell biologist and biochemist by training. She spent 24 years at Tufts University as a professor of biology, including a chair in natural sciences, and eventually served as vice provost there. She became the provost at the University of Richmond in 2001, where she was a close colleague of one Kenneth P. Ruscio. Fortunately for us, Ken was able to persuade her to come to Washington and Lee. She has been our provost for the last 4 years. In that role, my description is that she is the dean of the deans. She is in fact responsible for all aspects of the academic mission, including the college, the Williams School, the law school, admissions, athletics, information technology, and only 7 other business units here at W&L. Putting it mildly, June has held a critical post as our provost, and she has served with great distinction. However, these accomplishments do not capture her warmth, her wit, her lack of ego, her ability to speak plainly, her sense of fairness, or her genuine affection for this place. She respects alumni and what they mean to this institution. She has earned a high compliment from those who know Washington and Lee best. She gets it. Now finally, I must tell you, Dr. Aprille is also a heartbreaker because she announced recently that she will begin her richly deserved retirement this summer. We will miss her. We are indebted to her and very grateful that she accepted our invitation to launch Alumni Weekend tonight. Please give a warm W&L welcome to University Provost Dr. June Aprille.
Thank you, Bo. I also want to thank, I guess, the class of 1961, which I've been told is the movers who arranged that I should be the person asked to speak. And would you just raise your hand so I can acknowledge and thank you? If you're in the class of 1961, thank you. Now, would everybody just see who these people are? Because if this doesn't go well tonight, these are the responsible. Well, calling this a keynote address is a little intimidating, frankly, because it implies that the talk is supposed to set the mood for your grand weekend, as one might sound a note to start a musical number. Fortunately for me, I know you're already in good spirits because I observed you imbibing good spirits at some of the receptions prior to coming over here. As you can see in the program, I chose to title my remarks, "The Meaning of Alma Mater." Well, this is Alumni Weekend, a spring version of homecoming without football. And you have indeed come back home to Alma Mater. Now, literally, Alma Mater is the Latin phrase meaning nurturing mother. You know how glad your own mother was when you came home for a visit, and you know how glad you are to see your own children, if you have them, when they come to see you. So on behalf of your alma mater, once again, Washington and Lee, your dear mother, I want you to know how very happy she is that you have come home for a reunion with your Washington and Lee family. I'm sure a lot has changed since you were here as a student. President Ruscio often reminds his audiences that Washington and Lee has a tradition of innovation. That might seem like an oxymoron, but consider this. With a tradition of innovating to meet the times, Washington and Lee becomes timeless. Recall that R.E. Lee added subjects like business, journalism, and engineering to the classical liberal arts curriculum to better prepare young men with the knowledge and skills that he knew would be needed to rebuild the South. In the 1980s, President Wilson oversaw the move to coeducation, completing the Washington and Lee family of brothers with the addition of wonderful sisters, including eventually many of your own daughters and granddaughters. The student body is more diverse in other ways too. But be assured, we still seek to admit only individuals with the quality of character, leadership, and intellect that we sought in your day. We recently made dramatic changes to the spring term and to the law school curriculum. We now have vibrant programs for international education, for student research with faculty, and opportunities for public service and internships. And good grief, Washington and Lee now even has a provost. Whatever that is, and if that weren't enough change, the provost is a woman. About that provost thing for a minute. When I tell people socially that, what do? I am the provost at Washington and Lee, they look like they might be impressed at first. It sounds like a good title. But almost always, after a pensive pause, they say, what is a provost anyway? Well, the position actually became common in American universities about 70 years ago, as college presidents became increasingly focused on travel for fundraising and responding yes to alumni. Provosts were appointed to stay home and mind the academic mission. My favorite formal dictionary definition, if you look it up, for provost is a keeper of a prison. Okay, now this is fairly apt since I oversee students who are incarcerated here for 4 years and tenured faculty who are serving life terms. The more generic definition of provost is one in charge, a director, and the title can be applied to leaders in religious, military, and academic contexts. So in addition to being a jailer, I guess I'm supposed to be a moral leader, to marshal the troops, and manage the university. Now, no wonder I'm ready to retire after 4 years. And by the way, 4 years may not seem long, but provost years are really like dog years. One provost year in hardship is equal to 7 normal years. So by that clock, I have given 28 years, not 4. There are some advantages in having a job that no one understands. One advantage relates to income tax filing. If no one is clear about what a provost is or does, I might be able to deduct anything as a business expense. Dave Barry, the syndicated columnist, wrote this hypothetical dialogue taking place between an IRS agent and a taxpayer, Mr. Fremken, who listed his occupation as provost. The IRS says, Mr. Fremken, I see here that you are claiming a $17,000 business expense for inflatable camels. Mr. Fremken says, that is correct. I am a university provost. The IRS, can you explain what that job entails? Mr. Fremken, no. The IRS, then I have no choice but to allow it. Now, Mr. Barry probably thought that inflatable camels was a funny and ridiculous example of a provost's business needs. But 2 years ago, Washington and Lee actually had a live camel on campus for a holiday celebration. Well, inflatable camels or not, as you've heard, the provost is responsible for the success of the academic mission. And that success is measured only in the lives of the people who graduate. And that brings me back to you, the alumni, and the meaning of alma mater, nurturing mother. My remarks will address 3 questions. In what ways can a school be likened to a nurturing mother? What duty do we have as members of alma mater's family? What draws us back to visit our alma mater? Your parents, and especially your natural mother, defined your lineage and determined what you inherited, not only in the ways of physical traits, but also family history, traditions, and personal values. The lasting influence of a mother is the basis for the old saying, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Your alma mater acts like a mother in conveying to you the core values and high expectations established by your Washington and Lee forebears, in which you are expected to live out and pass on. Alma mater is much more than a campus and buildings. Like a parent, it has the potential for profound developmental influence because of the work that is carried out here by dedicated faculty and staff who strive to educate young people in the liberal arts tradition, to see them safely through the transition from childhood into the world of responsible citizenship, and to ground them in values for living a life of purpose and meaning. Students, like you were, thus become part of a second foster family, nurtured, yes, by Washington and Lee as a foster mother, alma mater. For many, the college experience leaves an imprint as deep as that of a biological family. 2 weeks ago, the campus was overrun by a large number of high school students to whom we had offered admission. They were visiting with their parents to experience the campus and thus to decide whether to become Washington and Lee students. I'm always hoping to hear that someone is going to choose the school because of the great Provost, but that has not happened yet. Hope springs eternal. I am sure that every school that they were considering would highlight similar benefits. Small classes, professors who care, study abroad, interesting courses, research with faculty, attractive facilities, and so on. But we know that students base their final choice of where to attend not so much on that kind of factual information, but rather on the basis of a subjective gut feeling. Does it feel right? Do I feel at home here? So in addition to touting the benefits of being educated here for just 4 years, in my remarks to these students, I asked a different question to help them make up their minds. What would it be like to be alumni of Washington and Lee for the rest of their lives? I talked about the values that alumni carry from this place into the world: honor, integrity, civility, leadership, service. Those watchwords are not featured so much at other schools, where the degree itself and the career it makes possible are usually touted as the main takeaways. I was really asking the accepted students whether they are ready to adopt the high ideals of Washington and Lee, whether this is the kind of place they want to call alma mater for the rest of their lives, and whether you are the kind of people they want to identify with as members of alma mater's family. I told them that choosing a college is more serious than marriage. You can get divorced, but you can never undo your alma mater. It will follow you to your obituary and to your grave, and if Dennis Cross and his development team get hold of you before then to make a bequest, it will follow you beyond your departure to this earth. Well, it seems we have enough of an answer to our first question. As your alma mater, Washington and Lee nurtured the development of your character, grounded lifelong friendships with people who became as close as siblings, helped to prepare you for the world of work, and shaped your lives around enduring values, much as a mother would transmit life skills and family values to guide the lives of her children. Our second question is, what duty then do we have to alma mater? Most simply, I would say it is to live by the values you learned here. The responsibility of living by family values is a very old idea. Consider these verses from Proverbs chapter 6. In the poetic language of the King James Version, and please think of the honor system as I read them. My son, keep thy father's commandment, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Bind them continually upon thine heart, and tie them about thy neck. When thou goest, it shall lead thee. When thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. When thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. The White Book is not a set of specific do's and don'ts. Washington and Lee did not teach you what to believe, nor what to do in every situation. But she did teach you how to decide what to believe and what to do. She taught you to operate on principles rather than a list of rules. As R.E. Lee said, we have no printed rules here. We have but one rule, and that is every student be a gentleman. The meaning of Washington and Lee is apparent to others in the way you are living your lives, grounded in both the experience and the values that you acquired here. You are the examples that we hold up to prospective students who are deciding whether to be adopted into our Washington and Lee family. This is truly a big personal duty and responsibility. If you were privileged to have been a part of this place, You have a duty to represent it faithfully and to sustain its reputation for the benefit of future generations. Washington and Lee depends on your gifts, to be sure, but the timeless significance of its essential identity depends more on the example of your own life and character. In a 2009 essay, David Brooks explained our responsibility to institutions better than I can, and I would like to quote him briefly to make my point. In a discussion of the book On Thinking Institutionally by political scientist Hugh Heclo, Brooks wrote this: "In this way of living, we are not defined by what we ask of life. We are defined by what life asks of us. As we go through life, we travel through institutions, first family and then schools, and then the institutions of a profession or a craft. Each of these institutions comes with certain rules and obligations that tell us how to do what we're supposed to do. In the process of absorbing the rules of the institutions we inhabit, we become who we are. The institutionalist has a deep reverence for those who came before and built up the rules that he has temporarily taken delivery of. In taking delivery," Heclo writes, "institutionalists see them as debtors who owe something, not creditors to whom something is owed." When you were here as students, you were expected to get an education, to make friends, and prepare for a life of tangible achievement. But you acquired, perhaps unwittingly, more than that. You also took on the obligation to accurately reflect what the institution stands for in the way you live your life, and to pass that larger meaning on intact to future generations. So then, for duty, we now move to our third question. What is the meaning of alma mater as a place? What magnet draws you back here? If an experience at a place like Washington and Lee is like a mother because it shapes your life and values, then coming back can feel like coming home to the source, the touchstone of the many good things that ultimately resulted from the time you spent here. Your recall is sharpened by being here. Your heart will beat more strongly when you see again the inspiring view of the colonnade and other memorable campus spaces, or the grand scenes of the surrounding Blue Hills on a crisp autumn day, or Goshen Pass now in the flower of spring. Fond memories of beloved friends and remarkable professors are brought back to life in your mind. You might recall the great joy of winning on the playing fields and the amazing feeling of being in love for the first time, the happiness of family on that day of graduation, and especially, you'll recall the power you felt physically and intellectually as young people when you were here in the prime of life. Returning home allows you to remember all of this more clearly, to pay homage to what was and remains dear about the time you spent here, to acknowledge indeed how much you are indebted to the shaping influence of alma mater, Washington and Lee, dear nurturing mother. You're gathered here tonight in the sacred space where most of you first pledged fealty to the honor system, the heart of your Washington and Lee family's values. Although much has changed in the years since you graduated, great professors now gone, new buildings, co-education, and even a provost, the things that are most important about your alma mater and to which on that evening long ago you were asked to hold fast have not changed. Honor, civility, integrity, trust, fellowship. These traits remain true of Washington and Lee, sensed by all who walk down the colonnade and feel her history and high purpose seep into their bones. It means something to be part of Washington and Lee, an accepted responsibility to live a life that does not disappoint the expectations inherent in those powerful words that define her values, now your values. Although my time here has been short compared to Washington and Lee's 262-year history, and short compared to your lifelong relationship with alma mater, and even short when compared in Provost's dog years, I will leave with a profound respect for what Washington and Lee has been, admiration for what it is now, and great anticipation for what it is still becoming. It has been a privilege to serve with President Ruscio for you and for this institution. It has been an honor to meet so many of you whose lives remain faithful to Washington and Lee's ideals. Every year of life is precious. Stay well. Be true. Forsake not the law of your mother. your alma mater, Washington and Lee. Make her happy by coming home more often. Thank you.